Hi, today we're going to talk about parenting with complex PTSD. And the topic we're going to cover in this, because it's a big topic, is co regulation challenges. And so, my name's Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist, an emotional wellness coach, and a practitioner mentor. And I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and also building a life of wellness. And the brain has a beautiful process for this. And that process can get stopped or blocked. And so my specialty is getting that process unblocked and getting the brain resolving symptoms for you, and getting your brain back on track to building your health and wellness and thriving. And I do this a lot with people with complex PTSD, with developmental trauma, relational trauma. And the longer we spend in a survival state, which is the brain's response to traumatic events and things that it thinks are dangerous to us, the more our brain is not building for health and wellness. It's just continuing to build for survival states, and then by the time we're adults, we have all this stuff for surviving, and not very much for thriving. And then this is a very rude awakening when you are a rock star at school, you're doing great at work, and then you start parenting and you realize that you're about to give your kid all of your thriving programming. That's the ones you want to give them, and you don't have very much yourself. And so this is a place clients reach out to me in, because we need to get those. We need to build that, the wiring and the subconscious programming for thriving. And so this, we get that brain function, that brain process unblocked and moving, and the brain will begin building it. And we guide the brain to build it as well. And so that's the perspective I'm speaking from. I love interpersonal neurobiology. I love what we're learning about the brain and our ability to bond and co regulate and all these things. I will provide some nerd info here, but really I'm in the practical application land of getting the brain to heal and wound and heal the wounds and build the health and wellness. So I'm in the actual practical, let's build it realm. And so that's what I'm going to talk to you about. But I do want you to understand some principles about brain function and human dynamics. And so this process that we're talking about, that I'm talking about, that I help people get unblocked and moving forward, is the mind body system for self reorganizing, the mind body system for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and the mind body system of taking all of the information, the sensory information about what's going on outside of us, what's going on inside of us, and getting that through from the body, from the sensory situation, nervous system, into the top, into the prefrontal cortex, and all these guys in here, the factory. I do not know their names. I'm constantly failing anatomy and physiology. But there's a ton of different, of higher brain um, uh, functions, different parts of the brain that are doing things for us, and we want them involved. A lot of times when we get triggered, when things are not safe, our survival system takes over and actually shuts those parts of the brain down and just operates from survival mode. And this part of the brain does not know how to thrive. It does not know how to hold the big picture. It doesn't know how to see things from multiple perspectives. And it actually shifts you when you shift out of that whole brain state, which is where you have this awareness of other perspectives and other people. It shifts you into a very self-survival centering. And when you're a parent, this is a tough place to parent from, because this part of the brain doesn't really care about anybody else. It can't process anybody else's data. It can't see things from other perspectives, and is really only focused on survival. And we cannot beat this part of the brain. This is the part of the brain that's kept us alive since the beginning of time. And so this part, we are wired to, if we're in danger, to function from this part of the brain. And it's good and it's strong and it overrides all of us. So when we go into this, it's not a choice state. It is the brain, the survival system has decided that it needs to be active, and I need to handle this. And when we're raising children and they're doing things that trigger our survival system as dangerous, and it's not, we're operating from a survival mode where we're trying to keep ourselves safe and survive, and we're losing perspective of the big picture. If you've got complex PTSD, this means that you've had a lot of experiences, traumatic experiences that have not fully processed yet, and that your brain will be fighting to still heal and process, and it will put this stuff. It's making you interpret your current reality as not safe. And this can be really challenging for you because you're like, I know it's safe, but you're still panicking, you're still hypervigilant, you're still walking on eggshells, and nobody's making you do that anymore. And that is a hard place to parent from. Okay, so I want to now. That's the brain problem. We can influence this very specifically, very targetedly. This part of the brain, we can switch from survival mode to thriving mode over and over and over again and retrain the brain. This is not difficult. Okay, this is actually very easy. I have a free program teaching people my favorite interventions for this, and you can actually, if one matches with your brain, which it's very likely to do, you're going to watch your brain shift from survival to thrive, and you're going to feel it. And thrive is such a big word. It's really, it really does mean that, but it's really when the brain is using all the sensory data to react instead of using the sensory data to heal and process. And so you notice your body feeling different. You notice new insights, epiphanies, higher ways of being. You notice a lot of shifts, and you'll learn to recognize when you're over in survival mode and, oh, I just need to flip over here. That stuff's simple, and that is the majority of the work I walk people through. But I really want you to understand these dynamics so that you can understand this co-regulation challenge and what to do with it. And you might already be in a place where you understand this co-regulation challenge. This is the thing children need. This is the thing we needed. This is the co-regulation is the substance the brain is looking for and uses to. It's the foundation of everything that is built. If you don't have enough regulation, your brain cannot build anything for you. And so we need this. And if you don't have it, you will struggle to give it to your children. And before this goes on any further for you, let's just outline it, talk about it, do it, and make the shifts. Okay, so um, co-regulation is the ability to, one is, we just soothe our nervous systems together. We regulate our nervous systems. Um, we shift into calm, relaxation, regulation, digestion. There's a ton of things that happen in a regulated state. Okay, this is also a term that's used here is heart coherence is a great way to measure this as well. They put electrodes on you, but if you can understand just like feeling coherent, your whole brain is running, all the pathways are open. There's not anxiety getting stuck anywhere that is making your throat hurt or your stomach ache. It's just peace, calm, and it's and you're feeling safe in your body. This is a regulated state, and we can shift into that, right? If you've had a panic attack and you've used one of these interventions and you've been able to shift yourself out, you will notice a big difference, right? You went from panic, and next thing you know, you're calm. Panic is dysregulated state. Calm is a regulated state. Okay, so and these look different for many different people. People can be completely dysregulated and carry on full conversations with you. There are some signs that you will see that can give you some hints that they're dysregulated, but for the most part, and some people can look super calm on the outside and they are massively dysregulated. You will see signs to this. And then you've got over here in our calm, regulated state, a lot of this stuff looks like being open, feeling open. There's an expansive feeling. There's different thoughts, aha moments, epiphanies, insights, curiosity. Curiosity is really only happening in that regulated state, and and that's a great sign you're there. So there's different signs you're going to pick up about yourself, but it means things are moving for health and wellness. There's multiple parts of your brain active and doing what they need to do. That's the good stuff. The other stuff is the survival mode is active. It's going fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn. It's choosing that for you. You're running on that. That's where you're going to see your symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress running up and flaring. Okay, so, and these are normal things. This is brain function. This doesn't go away. But what is normal is that if we start to get dysregulated, one of our parents as children would have come and helped us regulate. And then that co regulation, we're regulating together, which I'm going to explain a little bit more, um, would help us both shift into, or the child shift into a regulated state to match the regulation of the parent. That's what we're doing. We are using our bodies. We're using our sensory information to pull from another human that it's safe and it's okay to heal. It's okay to relax. It's okay to let go. It's okay to rest. It's okay to come into calming. And we're doing this body to body. We're doing this by reading each other's facial expressions. We're doing this by listening to the sounds we're making to one another. We're doing this by touching, by hugging, by rocking. And it's one regulated nervous system regulating the other. Humans, and pack animals, the emotions move through the pack. And so you can take your emotions, your regulated emotions, and move them through the pack. And now and your child or your children, and you're teaching them regulation. You're having their nervous system match your nervous system, and we're doing that all the time. We're constantly trying to match each other. Now, so when we've got that co-regulation going on, you're going to watch kids explore more. You're going to find them feeling safer. You're going to find them recovering. You're going to find more resilience. And we're teaching their system that if they get dysregulated, they can come back into regulation. I will help you bring it back down. We actually are their nervous system regulation when they're little. So when they're little, as parents, our job is co-regulation. Co-regulation. We are co-regulating like gangbusters. I don't know why that word. I just wanted to say that word. But this is what we're doing. We are co-regulating. It is a primary job. Just like we're feeding, we're clothing, we're also soothing. Soothing is co-regulation. If I'm soothing child, I'm co-regulating with the child. Okay. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. Now, we can also, okay, this is transferred through the body back and forth to us. We're reading these things and we're actually talking survival systems to survival system. And we're actually sending the safety signals the survival system needs to receive to relax and to allow the whole brain to come on board and to process and to grow and to adapt to the environment and to be flexible and creative and curious. Okay, the survival system needs that input repeatedly, and it comes through co-regulation in the beginning. We're patterning that nervous system with regulation through co-regulation. And nervous systems build for two things. One is because we need it, right? It's like you need to learn how your nervous system needs to be able to regulate your breath, your stomach. It needs to do these things. So you're wired for that already. The next thing is that your nervous system, your brain, will wire for experiences. If you have multiple experiences like this, your brain's gonna say, "Oh, well, this we need to wire for that. We need to figure out how to do that." And so, if you have multiple experiences of trauma during childhood, your brain is working on building a neural network to support how we're gonna survive this, right? That's what's happening up there in the wiring. That's why we need to rewire. Okay, and we can do that pretty quickly, relatively speaking. Okay, so but also as we're co-regulating children, we are giving them the experience of regulation. We get regulated, dysregulated, we come into regulation, right? There's a nice flow. I have a picture of this in a video called How to Feel Safe for the First Time, or How to Feel Safe Again or for the first time. And it's a complex PTSD recovery guide. And so I'm drawing you my pictures, my fabulous drawing that I share with my clients. So if you want more information about that, you can look at that video. But so we really need this pattern. we will get dysregulated as part of us learning and being human, but we need to learn that we get regulated. We go up, we come down. We stay regulated, we go up, we come down. So the brain isn't threatened by dysregulated states. It's like, oh, look at us. Oh, we know what to do. We'll come back down. If we're giving our children enough experiences of that, their nervous system is wiring for that. Their nervous system is figuring out how to get up and come down, and it's learning many strategies. By the time they're young adults and older teenagers, they will be phenomenal at this. It's co-regulation is one of the best gifts you can give people, because you're actually teaching them how to flip their brain out of survival mode into thriving mode. They're getting more time in thriving mode. Their brain is building for health and wellness. It's building for connection, healthy relationships. Here, right? Now, a lot of us miss that, and we need to do it now, because we need to get the brain to start wiring all that health and wellness now. And we need to get that pattern in our nervous system, in our body, of we get dysregulated, we come down. Many of us will get dysregulated and will keep going up. We have all sorts of mental tricks to get up higher. And so this is actually dangerous to the brain. It knows that, and it finds this dysregulation very threatening. And so then it works harder to get regulated, and it can't, because it's not practiced at it, doesn't know about regulation, doesn't know how to do it. It hasn't had enough experiences for it to copy the programming and to run that program. And so it's dysregulated even though it's trying to regulate, and that's when we will start hacking the system and using strategies to flip us out that are harmful to ourselves, often like emotional eating, drug use, sex, compulsive sex, um, lots of the compulsions, compulsive exercising. Those are body interventions where that we can use the body to send those safety signals that the survival system needs to regulate. But they're dangerous. They have negative side effects, and so that's why I'm handing people these my favorite three, because they'll do the same thing without the negative side effects, and they only take 30 seconds to 2 minutes, as opposed to eating a bowl of ice cream. Right, that thing's gone so fast, especially if you're eating it for survival reasons. And it's just not enough. It's not enough information to that part of the brain to heal. And then there's the shame spiral afterwards. Boo. No, because now we have to heal the shame spiral. It's a lot of work. So we want to use interventions that are more simple. So, okay, so here we have the situation where we have early with complex PTSD, um, we haven't received enough co-regulation to learn how to self-regulate. And also, we may have been parented by somebody who co-dysregulated with us. They were dysregulated. They came and got us, and we matched their level of dysregulation. Maybe because they were screaming at us, or pushing us, or maybe they went dead silent and cold and shut down emotionally. So we're learning how to do that through the mirroring neurons. We're picking up we're patterning like this with each other, so we can absolutely be co-dysregulating. And this is very disappointing to people who have worked hard to, I want to parent my children differently. And to know that they're still passing the programming for co-dysregulation is very disappointing, and it's devastating. However, this is why we need to get to work. This is why, because if you can't decide to give co-regulation, it can't be faked. Regulation cannot be faked. Our systems are picking it up all the time. We're reading this all the time. We're very good at reading regulation. We're very good at reading dysregulation. And so you can't tell your kid to calm down if your nervous system's dysregulated and expect they're going to calm down. They haven't mastered the art of self-regulation well enough in childhood to be able to withstand your dysregulation and keep them self-regulated. They're designed to match us. So you can be telling them to calm, you're dysregulated, they're going to be dysregulating. They're getting the program for dysregulation. Now, while that is sad and terrible, it's a thing, and really the solution is regulate your nervous system. Really. And it's really hard to regulate your nervous system even in those moments where you're watching your nervous system dysregulate your own child. And you got to do it. And you can do it quickly, you can do it easily, and you can really get the tools in your hands to do this, because your children, as soon as you get this regulation, you can immediately begin co-regulating. That could be, you might be going into a panic attack, you shift yourself out, and here you are, you were co-dysregulating, now you're regulating. Maybe it takes you a little bit longer to shift out of a dysregulated state, and then you're coming back and you're regulating, you're talking it through with your child, and you're talking about, you're making repair, and you're talking about the growth, and then the next time they see that you only got half as dysregulated this time, and then you're continuing to regulate, and then you're talking about this regulation thing, and you're starting to show them regulation, and they're getting to match up with it, and they're getting to read it through their body and their sensory information, and they're learning co-regulation, even if it's just a smidgy, right? A smidgy loo, that's enough. Even if it's just that little bit, we're shifting things. Their nervous system's like, what was that? That was interesting. Even if we can't sustain it, and we have to, because we're still working on processing and rewiring out the dysregulation that is maybe everywhere, we're still working on it. We're still making those shifts. Every time our kid sees it, they're going to see it, they're going to feel it. And then their brain is getting multiple experiences with regulation. And now their brain's like, I wonder what that was all about. And hey, and after a while, they'll tell you, hey, mom, can you do that regulation thing you do? Because they intuitively know that how it feels different. And so pretty soon, there's a whole regulation flow back and forth between the two, the mother and the child, the father and the child. This is beautiful. And with complex PTSD, this is the win. We're not going to pay attention a whole ton to all the dysregulation, because that was the original pattern. We're not going to be devastated anymore by it. We're just going to do the work of shifting, and we're going to celebrate all those wins. And because your nervous system likes this regulation better, and it's going to be working to transfer the dysregulation programming over to the regulation programming, and it will do that. And we're going to help it do that. And so pretty soon you're going to see this massive change between people. I have worked with people that they are dysregulated massively, and their child is also dysregulated. They're showing it through not being able to sleep. In the first week of regulation, their child is sleeping again. This stuff happens fast, but you do need to do the work, because your nervous system needs the experiences of coming out of a dysregulated state and into a regulated state. And you're giving it that experience, so it's rewiring. It's like, oh, she doesn't stop this regulation thing. Okay, okay, well, let's figure out this whole thing. What's that mean? And that, when you're regulated, that's the processing state, that's the healing state, that's the self-reorganization to health and wellness. It happens automatically in the state. You don't have to teach your brain how to do this. It's an automatic awesome. But it can't do it in this survival state. That's not how it works. It only does it in the regulated state. So we're constantly working this in the beginning. Okay. Let me look at my notes. I want to see what I need to. So also, this regulation piece, the more co-regulation a person had in childhood, the faster their disorder will resolve. So I'm constantly checking when I'm starting to work with somebody, what was your relationship like with your mother? What was your relationship like with your father? I want to see, are there patterns of dysregulation, or a co-dysregulation, or co-regulation? If there's co-dysregulation, I know we've got more work to do, and I'm going to expect to have to help that brain and that person build quite a few health and wellness functions, so that they can sustain health and wellness, not just feel better for just a little bit of time, but really sustain it. But if somebody's had quite a bit of co-regulation in early childhood, their disorder is going to resolve really quickly. I don't have to help them build as many health and wellness functions. And usually, even if mom and dad weren't available, then I'm checking grandparents, because we can get our regulation practice there. And it's still, if you don't get it from mom and dad, it's really, really tough. But if you got a ton from grandma, grandpa, you've really got a foot up. The people that haven't had it from everybody, we have work to do, and we really can do it, and we need to get busy. Okay. And yes. Okay. Brains need regulation to activate and allow higher brain states. I already said that, but I want to say that again. And I'm going to finish saying it, because I actually just cut it off. But brains need regulation to activate and allow higher brain functions and creative brain functions. When you want to create new ways of being, like you want to create a healthy self image, you want to create more safety, you want to create more self care, you have to be in the creative mode. And so that regulation is the doorway to all the creation factories in the brain. And they're so awesome, they just need to be running. And we need to be feeding them with the sensory information. That's a more advanced trick. I teach those strategies in my program, Inner World Transformation. That's an 8-week program that teaches you how to feed your brain the exact sensory information you want, help your brain resolve the exact symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress you want your brain to resolve. And so we're team working. The brain has its own priorities, and you have your own priorities, and we can work those both into a healing program. So that's what my program, Inner World Transformation, is about. So, but the brain needs regulation, and so and this is, people really do a lot of work in learning parenting skills and learning how to communicate and talk with one another. If you go into a survival state, the parts of the brain where those skills are located is no longer available. So there's so many skills you can't run if you're in a dysregulated brain state. If you're running from survival mode, you don't have access to your skills and your resources. And that's why it's important to get your brain to learn this is not actually dangerous. And your brain has a process for that. We want to walk the brain through its own process of learning how to understand what's safe and what's not safe and get accurate. And then we're going to watch it not freak out and not go into survival mode in places that it's safe. And then your brain's going to be acting like it's safe more and more often because we want it to match your environment. And your environment is mostly safe right now. If it's not, then you've got some other work to do, because your brain is not going to falsely create safety where you're actually in a domestic violence situation. Your brain is going to keep telling you we're not safe, and that's accurate. Okay. Um, but this is frustrating for people because they're so smart and they know what to do, but they keep doing the same thing that they're not supposed to be doing, right? That they said, I don't want to do, I was never going to do that. And they're in the situation and they're screaming. And they're like, and then they come out of it, and then the shame spiral. That's because in that survival state, you run from the old programs, you run from the instincts, you run from how you were parented, you run from many things. Whatever your brain is wired for, that's what you're running. That's why we want to parent from that regulated state, and we could teach the brain to do that. We can rewire to that. Um, okay, and so that's it. That's all I've got. I'm at the end of my list. So I want to invite you to try playing with your brain in this new way. Um, because while this is an overwhelming problem, and it is a massive child parent problem, but it shifts so quickly. And if you just do the brain work, your brain will do this for you. You will watch. People tell me, they're like, I don't know how this is happening. I was really calm all of a sudden, and I was able to make it through, and I was able to show up for my kid without making it all about me. And right, many of us are training for that, and then all of a sudden we can actually do it. It's phenomenal. Your brain needs to make this for you so that it's easier and you don't have to try so hard and fight with your brain, and internal fighting like, we will be nice. It's hard to be nice when you're fighting with your brain like that and your nervous system. Regulating your nervous system, your brain will make this for you. It'll be seamless. So I invite you to try some of these interventions. I do have a free program called Interventions for Inner World Transformation. That program is free. I've put the information, the link to that in the description part of this, so you can look up there and grab that link. um, and just play with these interventions. There's a ton of things you can do. That's going to also add you to my email list, where I'm going to talk to you about this is what you're looking for. These are the symptoms. This is the signs. This is what you try. All of these things I'm going to try and teach you strategies that you can implement. Also, if you find a matching intervention and you want to walk through my the 8-week process that I've developed, that's available as well. I've added the link to that in the descriptions part of this. So That's it for me. Wonderful connecting with you. Happy co regulating and happy self regulating, because that's what these tools really open the door for you to be able to do, is to self regulate. And that opens the door for co regulation. And that means you also get co regulation, because that you'll be ready for it. You'll be calling it and pulling it in. Survival systems don't really do that. But as the more you regulate, the more you co-regulate, the more you'll be pulling that in as well. So you're going to watch a shift. And so I'm wishing you an abundance of regulation. Take care.